Pokemon cards are always climbing and dipping in value. However, right now is a weird time because there's a few cards that are on a serious downward trajectory. And within this video, I'll be looking over these cards and explaining why some of these top chase cards that once seemed bulletproof are experiencing such brutal market pullbacks. Though before we get into this video, I've actually got some exciting news because the world's largest virtual comic convention is actually coming to Whatnot on May 15th to 18th. And to celebrate, I've partnered with them to go live on the 15th of May at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'll be giving away 36 packs of Surging Sparks and 36 packs of Paldea Evolved, which will all be available worldwide. Though I'm going to speak more on that later on in the video and how you can earn a free $15 credit on Whatnot. Though Pokemon prices are continuing to fall, though what I think is way more interesting is the actual specific cards which are falling, because these cards were once the leaders of the Scarlet and Violet era and they actually seemed untouchable at one point, but a reversal is currently happening and it's something that we need to study and learn from as it's actually becoming super interesting within the hobby right now. Alright, so the first one that we have here is the Magikarp illustration rare, and it is pretty wild to see that a Magikarp became one of the top chase cards in the whole Scarlet and Violet era, though things have changed quite dramatically, in 2025 for this card in particular. You can see in the last month, this card was selling for 220 US, right now selling for $195 in 1 month. That is a severe market pullback. Though if we pull this into the last 6 months, check this out, man. You can see the high for this card was 276 US, and it's dropped down, a fair bit just in the last 3 months alone. This card is really taking a tumble backwards. And the reason why this is so interesting is because this card, along with a lot of the other cards I'm going to show you in this video, were like bulletproof at one point, right? I mean, the Magikarp, that seemed like it was just untouchable for such a long time. So I think what's happened, right? The Magikarp illustration rare was a real standout when it kind of released, right? The competition for other cards wasn't really there. The Magikarp was a standout. Though now when we've got Prismatic Evolutions, we got some of the cards coming out for Destined Rivals, the new Black Bolt and White Flare sets look really cool as well. I think the Magikarp doesn't really stand out as much as it used to at the start of the Scarlet and Violet era. And that's what I mean, man. If we pull this into the year graph, you can obviously see that this card went from 104 US all the way to $270, and now it's down to 194. Wouldn't really call this a crash per se, but definitely, it's nearly $100 off its original kind of high point in the market. So you can see that the Magikarp is really having a significant pullback at the moment. And hey, if you are new to the channel as well, welcome aboard. My name is Phil and I run this Pokemon investing and collecting channel. It's always incredible having new faces on board, so definitely feel free to subscribe for consistent Pokemon market updates. Now moving on to the next one, which is the Greninja Special Illustration Rare. Now this one is held a little bit stronger than a lot of other cards, right? So this is one of my personal favorite cards from the Scarlet and Violet era. I really rate it. Even when I saw the reveals of this card, it was like early last year, I saw that we're going to get this Greninja. I thought, wow, it looks like a standout. But you can see, I just pulled this into the last 6 months. You can see this card went all the way to 410 US. Right now, the raw copy is selling for 303. Just look at that graph there. You can see in the last 3 months alone that this card has literally nosedived. Yes, we can say, oh, the market was inflated beforehand, and we can say all these things, right? But the reality is that there is a big market pullback happening. Don't forget as well, right? Black Bolt and White Flare were the first sets of this year that most people, if you kind of were there early on Pokemon Center, you would have got the ETB. That was one of the first sets that a lot of people got the ETB. That didn't happen beforehand, man. Like Journey Together, you can forget about that. Destined Rivals ETBs, the Pokemon Center ones, forget about it. However, for Black Bolt and White Flare, that wasn't the case. It was that touch easier. So it could be a little bit of a thing where a lot of these hype beasts and a lot of these people, or these people that came in for the trends, are just slowly leaving the hobby. I'm not saying they've completely gone from the hobby, but they've just kind of slowly gone away, right? Another one to look out for is the Pikachu from Surging Sparks. This one is really getting a market drawback at the moment. Check this out, man. In the last 3 months alone, this card was selling for 470 US in February. Right now, check this out, man. Selling for $292. Huge market pullback for this Pikachu, which is kind of unbelievable because this card was very in demand. I remember when I saw this card, late last year when I saw it kind of climb up to, it was like $480. I thought that was like a real quick market spike. But then when I saw the pull rates for this card, they are really difficult to kind of get, right? To pull this Pikachu is incredibly hard. So I guess the price point made a little bit more sense. Now sitting at $292, I wouldn't say that it's a bargain or you're getting a crazy good deal. If we pull this into the last 6 months, you can see a pretty clear snapshot of how much this card has dropped in value. But then again, pulling this card would be super fun as well. Though, as I'm saying that, right, even though this Pikachu is dipping a fair bit in price, it still would be a fun collectible to own. And you actually just may have a chance, as I'm partnering with Whatnot for their event, Whatnot Con, and giving away 36 packs of Surging Sparks and 36 packs of Paldea Evolved on May 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So today's video is sponsored by Whatnot. So Whatnot Con 25 is the collectibles event of the year, and it brings the magic of conventions exclusively to Whatnot on May 15th to 18th. So if you've never used Whatnot before, it's literally like live shopping. Now what's really awesome, if you're a first timer, you can actually join my giveaway stream and try it out. In the last stream, one of the winners pulled the Greninja. It was actually straight up hype. The chat went wild, right? And I'll also be auctioning some Pokemon packs starting at $1. So feel free to join my hybrid giveaway and selling stream on May 15th at 5 p.m. You can also get $15 off your purchase if you scan the QR code that's appearing on screen or use my referral link in the video's description. All the details are there. Now moving on, we can see the Bubble Mew, one of the most iconic cards from the Scarlet and Violet era. A lot of fan demand for this Bubble Mew. When this card was revealed, a lot of people liked it, but I think it's super unique. And I actually think that the Bubble Mew is one of the more iconic cards from the Scarlet and Violet era, even more so than the Prismatic Evolutions Umbreon. Even though that's the most expensive card, I still feel the Bubble Mew is more iconic because it's so unique to the generation. I personally love cards that are unique to the generation. What I mean by that is Moonbreon was unique to Generation 8. The Umbreon in Prismatic Evolutions kind of just feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It doesn't feel like it would even stand on its own 2 feet if it wasn't for Moonbreon. However, this Bubble Mew does, and that's why I really like it a lot. It is very iconic for the Scarlet and Violet era. That you can see as well, check this out in the last 3 months, selling for $400 US in February. Right now selling for $311, $90 off its original price point. Fair bit, man. Let's pull this into the last 6 months. And you can see this card in November was selling for $191. So you can see, yes, it's still selling for much more than it was in November, but you can see the market is calming down a little bit and it's happening pretty quickly, right? I am very interested to see where the Bubble Mew goes later on in this year. Will it have a market bounce back? Don't forget, this is a very beloved card. Every time I talk about Bubble Mew, people always say, I want to buy it, I want to buy it. So I wouldn't be surprised that this card has a pretty quick pullback when it happens, probably later on this year. Now, one that's really surprised a lot of people is the Charizard 151 Special Illustration Rare. Now, yes, this card is expensive, but also don't forget, Pokemon 151 pull rates are nowhere near as difficult as a lot of other Scarlet and Violet era sets. When we look at Twilight Masquerade or Surging Sparks, to pull the Special Illustration Rare is over 1 in 900 packs. Whereas when you're looking at Pokemon 151, to pull this Charizard, it's like 1 in 250 packs, right? So because of that, you've got to take that into consideration, right? This Charizard is always going to struggle to get to that Pikachu's price point or the Greninja's price point because there's more available in the market. But check this out, man. This card was selling for $293, which is what the Pikachu is selling for right now pretty much. But you can see the pullback has been pretty significant, selling for $197. That is a massive price reduction, and that card has pretty much tumbled down a cliff. The reason for this is Blooming Waters came out in January of this year, and right now we're getting a huge influx of singles on the market. And don't forget, like I said, this Charizard isn't that difficult to pull. So because of that, the market's kind of reacting to that as well, because a lot of people are saying, wait, there's more on the market than we kind of anticipated, more people can buy it, more competitive prices. I am very interested to see how Pokemon 151 singles are going to travel in 2026. We can even see the Blastoise 151 Special Illustration Rare as well. Check this out, man. Selling for $88 in March. Right now in May, selling for $66. These are big percentage decreases from their high points, right? You might be thinking, oh, it's just dropped $20. But when you're looking at the percentage decrease of these cards, it's pretty significant, right? So for that reason, now is the time to kind of think about what cards you're going to purchase. If we pull this into the 6 months, you can see in November, this card is now matching that point. This whole kind of rise that it had from, December to February, that's all been wiped off. So it is likely that a lot of these cards will eventually climb up again, though when that happens, who knows? Don't forget, we're getting a lot of 151 coming on the market. Even in Australia, man, we're still getting some Pokemon 151 packs. So we've got booster bundles coming on the market, right? So because of that, more singles are coming on the market for us in Australia. Around the world, it would be the same, right? It's going to be very interesting to see where 151 travels. Now, I know a lot of you love keeping up to date with the market prices, and an awesome way way to stay up to date with the Pokemon market is through my channel's Discord. You can connect with the Pokemon community along with being first in line to hear about Discord exclusive giveaways. All the details are within the video's description. Now, one that's really kind of wild to see is the Latias EX Special Illustration Rare. Now, this card was very in demand when Surging Sparks released, but you can see in the last 3 months, again, huge market pullbacks. Selling for 252 US in February, right now selling for 189. Huge percentage kind of decrease from these cards. The pull rates for these are incredibly difficult, so again, it's maybe not that surprising to see that it's holding a bit stronger than the Charizard, but we're gonna see what happens with these cards. I do think the fact that we're getting Surging Sparks reprints coming about, we're gonna have to see where this card levels out, but right now, I think that's a pretty good price considering how rare this card is to pull. Now, another interesting one, and I think this card is a lesson for everyone, is the Lillies Clefairy from Journey Together. So when Journey Together came out, man, oh man, Journey Together was sold out everywhere, but I think Journey Together was a bit of a lesson for everyone because no one knew the pull rates, no one knew the cards inside the set, and everyone said, wow, Prismatic Evolutions is sold out, that means Journey Together is going to be the same thing. But now as time's kind of passed, a lot of people are looking at Journey Together and saying, wow, the set was decent, it wasn't that crazy good. And because of that, we can see the market prices for a lot of these singles are tumbling. You can see the pre-release price point was 326 US. Right now it's selling for $171. Huge kind of price reduction from its pre-release price point. Now that's very common. When a card comes on pre-release, it should kind of tumble. That's usually what happens, but how the Pokemon market's been going, it's been like pre-release price is the best price you're gonna get. So I'm kind of thankful to see that the market is kind of going back to some normal kind of behavior, which is this. And I still think $170 for this card is incredibly expensive. Given the fact that its pull rates are not that difficult, I do expect that this card will continue to dip. And of course, we can see the Terapagos Special Illustration Rare from Stellar Crown. Stellar Crown is a little bit of a forgotten set, kind of sandwiched in between Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks. And then you had Prismatic Evolutions released right after that. And I mean, Stellar Crown's just been kind of left in the shadows. But you know what? This card was selling for 84 bucks in February, right now selling for $49. I think that deserves the term a pretty big crash. If we look at this in the last year, the pre-release price point for the Terapagos was 151 US. Right now selling for 49 bucks. So you can see market pullbacks are definitely happening right now within the Pokemon world. I do think Stellar Crown is a pretty cool booster box and set, right? You do have the Dash Bun, you've got the Terapagos, you've got the Lacey. I do think it's a little bit underappreciated at the moment. And I have a real big feeling that people are gonna go back and appreciate Stellar Crown as the months and years go on because, you know, like I said, it was sandwiched in between Twilight Masquerade and Surging Sparks. And now everyone's looking at the future of the Scarlet and Violet era and everyone's kind of forgotten about Stellar Crown, but who knows, it might have an interesting market bounce back when people kind of look back at these older sets. Now, as much as these prices dipping so heavily in value makes a lot of people lose confidence in their collectibles, one positive about all of this is if you do own these cards, there's a solid chance that they will reverse once this period ends. And a key thing you need to know about Pokemon cards is that they are cyclical, right? They come up, they come down. Though I think what's far more important is to learn how to take the steps to ensure your collectibles hold value. And if you're wondering how to do that, I do cover that in this video right here. Within this video that's appearing on screen, I go over the 5 steps to ensure your Pokemon collectibles retain value. Click the video that's currently appearing on screen and we'll talk more about that topic there. I'll see you on that video.